You know, just needed to make this video just to kind of vent a little bit about the sheer stupidity that we see every single solitary day. Now, this topic just happens to be related to the Virginia Beach shooting, which just recently happened. I do not condone what happened, the fact that people were shot. I don't condone school shootings. I don't condone any criminal activities whatsoever like this. But, gotta use some realism. Gotta think. And the people who are really to blame are not necessarily people who are pulling the trigger. It's the news media, it's the government, the politicians, the sheer stupidity that emanates out of their friggin' faces and what they publish and print and everything else. It's just absolute bullshit. And all it does, incite people to become scared. They're trying to get the shock factor, to get people to look at their stuff. And I'm targeting right now USA Today, which you would think would be a reputable media source. And to me, after looking at this one article, all it says to me is that they're worthless shit. And they're no different than a criminal who steals money out of your back pocket or breaks into your house. They're spreading fear with their publication by spouting nonsense. And I'm sorry, if you're going to present the news, don't present opinions. Opinions have no purpose in a public forum whatsoever. If you want to sit down and talk about things and share your opinions, sure, do that. But when you're broadcasting to millions of people, you need to state the facts and the facts only. Or you need to be held accountable for the bullshit that you're spouting out. Yes, I'm going to use foul language. If you don't like it, then I'm sorry, but this is me. This is my opinion, and this is how I'm going to voice my opinion. And my opinion is based on fact of things that I see. Okay, again, if you think that I'm saying that I'm condoning what this shooter did, then fuck yourself. You're just as ignorant as the people who are printing this media. So don't even bother going there. All right, so we're not looking at the fact, okay, 12 people were killed. Okay, that will be a factual statement. Fine. The suspected shooter, well, is it suspected shooter or the actual shooter? How can it be a suspected shooter if you know that they're a 15-year veteran of public works and a civil engineer? How can you know facts about somebody if you don't know exactly if they're the ones that were doing it? You can't do that. It's like me saying that the suspected person who wrote this article was a complete and utter moron, and they should know better. Well, okay, but okay, let's move on. This pure filler for the first part. Show the facts and the facts only. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of crap. It's vaguely giving off, the main information here. And then they go into what happened. Say the suspect, okay, I understand that they need to use the word suspect. And we're not even getting into the dumb shit just yet. Was armed with a .45 caliber handgun with a silencer. Okay. Believed to be used for stealth. You don't believe, no, state facts only. Believed to be used for stealth. No, it's not fucking used for stealth. A sound suppressor is a more appropriate term, but can also be referred to as a silencer, is used to reduce the audible noise level of the firearm. It does not silence the weapon. It does not become, like you see in their freaking movies. And this is where they're getting their facts from a goddamn movie. And the media presenting all these things as evil things for whatever reason. Believed to be for stealth. No, it's not used for stealth. It can be used for a more stealthy approach. However, don't use words like believed to be. That's just bogus bullshit. Survivors of the attack were caught off guard and initially puzzled. Well, yeah, most people don't know that those noises are not a nail gun or hammering or something of that nature. So, yeah, most people are not attuned here in the United States for being under gunfire. Okay, so they're going to be surprised. The gunman brought numerous extended magazines loaded with ammunition. Well, they're not loaded with fucking sausages. No shit, they're loaded with ammunition. Dumbass motherfuckers. Okay, numerous extended magazines loaded with ammunition, which carry more rounds than traditional magazines. What? Police said. Who in the police said that? Because they're fucking morons too. Okay? Numerous extended magazines. How big were they extended? And if it's a 45 caliber handgun, there's not many manufacturers of extended magazines. Other than a few select, like there are for Glock and for the STI 2011 based weapons. Extended magazines to me says that this was like a 30 round magazine for a handgun, something of that nature. But then again, there are some pistols that come standard with 30 round magazines, so they're not actually considered to be extended magazines. To me, an extended magazine means that they remove the base plate and put an extender on there. Okay, getting away from the fact that that's just pure fluff that they added in here just to make it sound more demonized. He has a silencer and he has extended magazines that carry more rounds. Okay, just pure stupidity. Suspected Virginia Beach shooter used a gun suppressor. Well, it wasn't a car suppressor or a fart suppressor. Did it make Friday's shooting deadlier? No, it's not going to make it deadlier. Silencers don't add to the lethality of a bullet. In fact, technically, they lower the lethality because they help to lower the velocities depending on the cartridge. They may lower it slightly on the velocity, but for the most part, they're just bleeding off. A suppressor is bleeding off gas. The gas expansion coming out of the end of the barrel is what makes the noise. And honestly, has nothing to do with making it more deadly. In fact, if you want to make it more deadly, then you wouldn't use one at all. Honestly speaking. So the answer to that is no. And putting the word gun in there is, you might as well been using, it's negative slang. When you're referring to something that happened which involved a firearm, you throw in the word gun because guns are evil. Firearms don't sound lethal. It's just your terminology used to demonize something without provocation or without justification. Going to right here. The shooting began around 4 p.m. Friday, and by 4:43, police said over the radio the suspect was in custody. He's in custody, okay? Which means they have him handcuffed and he is in custody. Typically alive. And then the very next sentence, they said the gunman was killed. Well, is he in custody or is he dead? What is it? He was killed in an intense firefight. No, it could have been a casual firefight. Okay, it's my turn. Pow. Okay, it's your turn now. Alright, you went, now it's my turn again. No, it's not a casual firefight. Intense firefight. Really? Was it necessary to go there? With 4 responding officers who hemmed him in and likely prevented him from using his load of ammunition on more victims. If he's fucking dead, he can't fucking shoot. Was any of that sentence necessary towards providing facts about the situation? He was killed in a casual gunfight with 4 responding officers who politely asked him to stay in one area and not to use his extra ammunition so that they could, bring an end to this. No, none of that whole fucking sentence was even necessary to spread factual information. One police officer was shot in the stomach during the standoff, but was saved from serious injury by his bulletproof vest. Damn right, police officers should have been using a vest, because there's a lot of friggin' idiots out there, and these police officers are out there every frickin' day. I served in the military. People tell me, thank you for your service. You know what? I appreciate it, okay? But you know what? If you're a frickin' police officer out there, you're a bigger goddamn hero than most of the people that I know that served in the military. You're out there every frickin' day putting your shit on the line every day for ungrateful motherfuckers who don't show you the respect that you deserve. So I have a lot of respect for police officers. Local town police officers, every time I see a police car go by, I wave. It's my casual way of thanking them for being out there. These guys guys and gals, are freaking heroes. They deserve to be thanked. Like for a long time, at Christmas time and Thanksgiving, we used to actually invite police officers over to come have Thanksgiving dinner while they're on duty, or Christmas dinner while they're on duty. If we know that we're going to have a police officer coming over, we'd put together a little present for him or something, just as a kind way of saying thank you. Didn't hurt at the time that we were also, myself, my brother, and my father were all involved in law enforcement, working with the sheriff's department. But nonetheless, these police officers are out there putting their lives on the line every frickin' day, but yet they don't get any kind of respect whatsoever. Thank a police officer for his service, or her service. Sorry, I don't mean to be insensitive that way, but thank them for what they're doing. They're out there doing a job, and nobody thanks them. Show them some courtesy. You got pulled over for speeding. You're the asshole, not the police officer. He's just doing it. He or she is. I'm just going to say he. I don't mean any disrespect towards female officers. I know quite a few. But they just pulled you over because you were violating the law, and don't hate them for doing their job correctly when you were the asshole and you were speeding, or you ran a red light, or you ran a stop sign, or whatever. If you did something wrong, stand up to it. Don't criticize them for doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're out there to try to moderate the stupidity in the world around us, and there's not enough of them to actually make an impact. Far too much stupid out there. But the whole rant of what's going on right here is not just per se this Virginia Beach shooting, but a message was sent to me earlier in regards to even President Trump is quoted to say ABC News says that Trump will seriously look at banning gun silencers. Again, throwing the word gun out there. It's negative slang for firearms. So is the word silencers. Okay? The trouble is too many people have their heads stuck in the goddamn movies and TV crap like The Walking Dead or whatever. Are we supposed to, understand, okay, this is entertainment purposes. But anytime you see a silencer or suppressor portrayed in a movie, you always hear that mouse fart, poof, that weird sound. They don't do that. Silencers and suppressors don't do that. They're only going to lower the velocity, not even the velocity, but the noise level, the decibel rating, to be more comfortable for the shooter. I have a really good friend who has hearing problems, and honestly speaking, a sound suppressor or a silencer for him would actually do benefit to help prevent any further issues with his hearing. He has to wear hearing aids in both ears, and if he takes both of those out and puts on earmuffs or earplugs or whatever else, it can be uncomfortable. He's not a criminal. He's not planning on taking over the world. Neither am I. Um, Sound suppressors make shooting more pleasurable for people shooting. If you go to a shooting range and you see 10 people out there at a shooting range, outdoor we'll say, and they're shooting, you're trying to shoot for accuracy. I enjoy shooting whenever I can get out to the range and go. Yes, I have AR-15s. I have, um, you know, firearms that look like stuff that you would see in Hollywood movies, and they're quickly tagged as assault weapons. They're not assault weapons. An assault weapon would typically be an automatic weapon, a large caliber automatic weapon. It is meant for taking out the enemy, even if they're behind cover and you're assaulting. You're trying to just, assault weapons are used in war. In fact, the last true assault rifle that was built during World War II, and yes, the AK-47 could be considered to be an assault weapon, but that's only if it's select fire, automatic weapon, not a semi-automatic AK. It doesn't become an assault weapon because of the fact that it looks like something that can go full auto. So I'm going to close this out. I'm ranting, and I'm pissed off of the stupidity of the news media and our government and how they're basing the fact that we need more gun laws. No, we don't. Firearms don't kill people. I've got a 1911 sitting right here on my desk. Okay, 45 caliber handgun. Oh, it's a massive, powerful handgun. Okay, this gun has never killed anybody. In fact, it's been on my desk for 2 years in the same spot. I clean it every so often. I actually unload it and clean it, and because it gets covered in dust because it's sitting on top of my desk. Okay, touching it right now, and it feels lovely. It has not once jumped up and tried to kill me. It hasn't done it. It's just sat there. You don't want to hurt me, I mean, it's empty at this point because it's time for its annual cleaning. But this pistol has never jumped up off of my desk and tried to kill me. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. So what does a firearm have to do with protecting people in this world? Why don't we fix the mental health system? Why don't we fix the healthcare system? Why don't we find the root of why people are doing what they're doing? The Virginia Beach shooter, why did he do that? Did he just wake up one morning and say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to go into, I'm going to email my work and say, you know what? Fuck you guys, I quit. And send in an email saying that he's going to resign. And then, what, fuck it. Just grab a couple pistols, grab a bunch of ammo, and just go in there and start shooting up the fucking place. I'm pretty sure he didn't just wake up and say, I'm going to go do this. There was something that provoked him to actually snap to do this. A normal, legal, law-abiding citizen does not pick up a handgun or pick up a weapon and go in and start murdering his coworkers. That just is not what normal people do. So apparently there is some mental health issues. Whether he had mental health issues or maybe he was just fed up with bullshit at work. Okay, if it was a government position that he had, even more so. Between the nepotism and the bullshit that goes on behind the doors of backstabbing and bullshittery in most government jobs, is enough to make people want to frickin' snap. Maybe the mental health issues aren't necessarily people who snapped and did the shooting. Maybe the mental health issue lies in the people that, I'm not saying that, there weren't innocent victims and whatever. I'm not trying to say that. Again, I'm not condoning what he did. But there's a reason why he snapped. You need to break that down. Somebody is the reason why this guy had enough and said, fuck it, I'm going to end you. You don't get to fuck it on a whim. Something pushed this man to that point. Yes, there have been mass shootings that were done by people who were just frickin' mentally ill. There was a church shooting not far from where I live where 9 people or so were killed. The person who did that was mentally ill. Should not have had access to a firearm. And in that fact, there's other things behind that one. But the person who did the shooting was mentally ill. He should never have had access to a firearm. And the person who allowed him to have access to a firearm is equally liable, in my book, to what happened. What I want people to do is think about this, do your own research on this. Besides the fact that we know that the news media is full of bullshit all the damn time, they're spreading lies just to try to push their own agendas or whatever else. And the mental capacity of most people today is that of a bowl of potato salad. So think about this. We don't need more gun laws. We need improved way of thinking for people. We need more accountability for people who do things that are wrong. Blame the actual problem. Fix the actual problem. Don't just cast blame. Fix the problem. Okay. Sound suppressors. For me to go out and legally purchase a silencer or sound suppressor, what does the process take? Okay. I'm going to need to be fingerprinted with at least 3 fingerprint cards. 2 or 3, I can't remember now. I believe it's 3. You're going to need to get a check or money order for $200 addressed to the U.S. government, BATF, and you fill out some questions on an application and so forth, and the paperwork you fill out and so forth is then sent to BATFE, and they perform a background check. Okay. In that background check, it can take anywhere from 90 days to an entire year to get that background check finished. They're going to check everything. They should be checking everything, but they're checking a lot of information, and if they allow you to have that, they're granting you a tax stamp. It looks like a postage stamp. It's about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, whatever, by about 1 inch wide. You're getting a postage stamp that says $200 US. I've got one sitting right over here. I have a short-barreled rifle, which is also part of the same deal. A short-barreled rifle, not a sawed-off shotgun. No, this is a short-barreled rifle, which is another dumb classification, but whatever. Automatic weapons, destructive devices, sound suppressors, things of that nature require a $200 federal tax stamp and a separate background investigation. If I wanted to get an MP5 SD and select fire, okay, it's an automatic weapon, so that's a $200 tax stamp. It's got a short barrel, 10.5 inches, okay, and a butt stock and everything. So there's another $200 federal tax stamp. And then it has a suppressor on it. So there's another one. So that's 3 separate tax stamps on one firearm that I'm going to have to pay $600 and still wait for the background check. And what the crappy thing is the one for the automatic weapon, the suppressor, they go to different desks. So one may take 8 months, one may take 14 months. So even though I've got approved on the automatic weapon side of it, I haven't got the approval on the short barrel rifle portion of it yet, or the suppressor portion. I have to wait for all 3 of them to come in before I can take possession of it. But again, with suppressor, once you have been approved by the BATFE through your background investigation, you get your tax stamp and your paperwork back, then you can take possession of it. Who in their fucking right mind is going to go out there and commit a crime knowing that they have suppressors or short-barreled rifle or an automatic weapon for the amount of time that it took to go through the process to actually get it, why would they jeopardize that? Because if I go out and commit a crime right now that is deemed to be a felony, okay, once I get a felony on my record, then I'm no longer allowed to possess a short-barreled rifle, a suppressor, an automatic weapon. It doesn't matter how much I've paid for them, how much effort that it took to get them, they're going to confiscate them from me, whether I use them in the crime or not. They're sitting in my home in my safe, and they're just fine. But because I now have a felony on my record, they're going to come knocking on my door, and they're going to take them from me. They're not going to say, oh, well, here, we'll give you X number of dollars, give you your money back for it. Or, no, you don't get any compensation for it. They just come and take your shit. Okay. Whatever. So I'm not going to do anything that's going to get me a felony so that I lose the shit that I worked hard to get. Not just for money, but for the background investigation that I had to go through. Me having a clean criminal history allows me to have things of that nature, and I'm not going to jeopardize that so that I'm going to lose them. So here's the homework that I want everybody who thinks we need more gun laws. Okay? If you think that we need tougher gun laws in this country, or in any country for that fact, let's take a look at a couple of questions here. The first one being, how many legally purchased firearms did the owner of that firearm commit a crime with? The person committing the crime, I want to make sure that this is perfectly understood here. If you look up statistics and find out how many legally owned firearms were used in the commission of a crime. This is not, I bought this pistol and then I gave this to you and you went out and committed the crime, because I then illegally gave you that firearm. So it is no longer lawfully owned. The person that purchased it legally then committed a crime with that firearm. How many crimes have been committed with legally possessed firearms? Okay, that's the first one. How many crimes have been committed, and we're talking about the United States of America for right now, in the United States of America, how many crimes have been committed with legally possessed and owned automatic weapons? How many crimes have been committed with legally possessed sound suppression devices? How many crimes were committed with legally possessed short-barreled rifles or destructive devices or any of these regulated items that are already on the books as registered items? And again, what I mean by this is I go through the effort to legally purchase this firearm, the suppressor, the short-barreled rifle, the automatic weapon, what have you. I went through the process of legally purchasing them, and then me, the legal registered owner of that particular item, committed a crime with that object. How many crimes have been committed with legally owned suppressors? How many have been committed with legally owned automatic weapons? I know the answers to these, but if you think that we need more regulations on that, when you use a firearm in the commission of a crime, you are committing a crime, and therefore you are a criminal. It is no longer being used lawfully. The size of the magazine does not have anything to do with the effectiveness of a firearm at all. Do I have high-capacity magazines? Absolutely. Do I have magazines larger than the stock capacity? Yeah, I do. Why do you need more than 10 rounds? Why do you fucking care if I need more than 10 rounds? It's not your firearm, it's mine. I'm not committing crimes with it, so what does it fucking matter to you? Well, the bad guy of this crime, the LA shootout years ago where two guys are walking down the street with AK-47s with 75 round drums shooting fully automatic gunfire while they're covered in body armor. They were fucking bank robbers. So they're criminals. They did not legally purchase those weapons. For fuck's sake, California is such a bullshit state to begin with. There was the Cowboy Action Shooting, Single Action Shooter Society. Grown-ass men and women. I was a part of it. Loved it. Great stuff. I'm not saying anything bad about them. Love them. Single Action Shooter Society and Cowboy Action Shooting. Grown-ass men and women who get to dress up like cowboys, cowgirls, hell, even Indians if they want to, and go out and have shooting competition. You're out in period style cowboy clothing. Yeah, it's fun as hell too. Kids, we were cowboys, cowgirls, whatever. We had fun with it. Well, you know what? Hell, my name is Beefalo Bart. That's my fucking cowboy name. So, I wholeheartedly for the cowboy action shooting stuff. It's a lot of fun. But you get dressed up like a cowboy or a cowgirl and go out there and do a shooting competition. All right? What are we using for our weapons? 6 shooters, man. We got the cowboy, we got the peacemakers, and yeah, okay. The single action revolvers that are used in competition are normally made to a capacity of 6 rounds. We only load 5, so that the hammer is resting on an empty chamber in case something happens. Even though modern firearms, that's not even a problem to deal with because there's hammer block safety and all that stuff. But to be on the safe side, we're only loading 5 rounds. Okay, no problem. So I've got 2 6 guns that are only holding 5 rounds each. 10 rounds. Our shotguns. Oh, we got shotguns. Yeah. Majority of them were double barrel shotguns. They're holding 2 rounds. The lever action rifles. We're typically only loading 10 rounds of ammunition. Most stages that I've seen were just 10 rounds in a rifle. But most of the rifles being used could hold more than 10 rounds. They could hold 11 or 12. Oh my God, they're extended magazines. They hold more than 10 rounds. They're evil. Do you know that there were cops stopping people at the border and trying to seize weapons and so forth for people coming in for a national event for cowboy action shooting? Grown-ass men and women dressing up as cowboys and cowgirls don't typically strike to me as being a threat to national security. Well, there was a cowboy. He came in here and he was wearing chaps, and they were assless too. But he had 2 6 guns, and yeah, his rifle could hold 11 rounds in the magazine, and he was evil. Yeah, fuck you. They were prohibiting people to bring their lever action rifles into the state for a national event because they could hold a potential capacity of more than 10 rounds, even if it was only 11 or 12 rounds. Really? It's no wonder that the Single Action Shooter Society said, you know what, California? Peace out, bitches. We're out of here. They hitched up their wagons and hauled ass to a non-communist state. So, yeah, how messed up is that shit? The gun laws aren't there to protect people. They're just penalizing the legal law-abiding citizens. Criminals don't go and legally purchase their weapons to use in commission of a crime. If this guy in the Virginia Beach shooting legally bought those pistols he used in the shooting, and then he mentally snapped, well, there was a mental issue there that caused the shooting. The guns had nothing to do with it. If I go out and I grab a puppy, hold him by his tail, and I viciously beat someone to death. Who is responsible, and what's responsible? Are we going to ban puppies because, one person beat someone to death with a puppy? How many people every year die from legally purchased and possessed firearms versus how many people a year die due to alcohol-related problems or alcohol-related deaths? We're not going on a global offensive to fight the war on tequila. We're not going to persecute Jack Daniels because Billy Joe Jim Bob decided he was going to have a few too many, get into his pickup truck and plow through a schoolyard. We're not going to penalize the whiskey manufacturers. We're not going to penalize the winemakers. We're not going to penalize the tequila makers or the vodka makers. We're not going after them, but more people died in the United States of America due to alcohol-related incidences than firearms. Legally possessed firearms is what I'm referring to. Criminals are criminals. If a firearm is used by a criminal, it's not because he purchased it legally. A criminal is a criminal is a criminal. We got to go after the mental health of this country first. And it's going to start with throttling the news media, and it's going to start with throttling the government. Throttling the sheeple who are... And the saddest shit that needs to be addressed right now is the people who cry the loudest tend to get their way. The louder you cry, the harder we should punch you in the face till you stop crying. Sounds hostile, sounds horrible, but you know what? If what you're crying about is not correct, then fuck you. You need to be punched in the face until you stop crying, or you need to be silenced until you stop crying. Just because you complain about something doesn't mean that it's right. We need to do what's right for this country, and the world needs to do what's right for itself. But we gotta stop people from being able to get their way because, think about it's just like a child, okay? Baby's gonna start crying because they want their pacifier or they want their diaper changed or what have you. They're gonna cry and cry and cry. And the appropriate thing to do is to figure out why they're crying. Oh, they want their pacifier. Okay, no problem. Get them their pacifier. Change their diaper. We're going to find out what the cause of the crying is and deal with it. So why don't we continue that with the rest of the frickin' world? You got these asshole liberal pieces of shit who are crying and saying, oh, we need tougher gun laws. No, we don't need tougher gun laws. We need tougher people. Quit being so fucking weak. I can't say this enough. It's the weak-minded pieces of shit who are the problem. And I'm gonna get out of here. Because no matter how I rant, no matter how I rave, none of this is gonna really sink in because I'm pissed off right now. Okay? But the reason why I'm pissed is that simple fact. It's okay for us to take a look at this baby analogy. If a baby is crying, we're going to find out why the baby's crying. Does it need a diaper change? Does it need its pacifier? Do you need a baba? Well, if we're going to do that with this baby, then why don't we do this with the rest of the world? USA Today is saying that we need this and this and this and this. Okay, the news media needs to be throttled. The way we do that is news media should no longer be able to report stories about, like say, they're shooting it in Virginia Beach. They need to only broadcast the facts only, no opinion. When they start casting opinion on something is when they look like idiots, and look at them as the idiots that they are. Okay, if they broadcast anything other than factual information, then they need to be held liable for their actions. Information about a crime should be withheld from public notification until post-trial. If this person has not been given a trial because he's dead, if they're sure that this was the actual, perpetrator, then yes, okay. As long as the law enforcement says, okay, you can give out the name of the shooter, or you can give out the name of the victims, that's one thing. But if in this case where the shooter's dead, but there are other cases like, okay, the O.J. Simpson trial, whatever. Who didn't hear anything on the news about O.J. Simpson or whatever piece of shit celebrity that's doing something stupid? If the news media broadcasts any information about a crime that was committed before the trial has been completed, then they should be held in contempt or interfering with a criminal investigation, or they should be held liable for spreading information about a crime that hasn't been through trial yet. Okay? How can you find an impartial jury when every news station and every newspaper and every radio station is broadcasting information about a crime that was committed? This person did this. They killed 47 people with a frozen turkey leg. Well, okay. If this person hasn't been through their trial and they have not been convicted for that crime, then by broadcasting any information about this crime whatsoever, then you're interfering with the criminal investigation, which is including the trial. Because you cannot create a fair and impartial jury if the news is broadcasting information about it. If you've heard something on the news or the newspaper or the radio or whatever about this crime, then you are not being impartial. You should have no prior knowledge about the crime committed whatsoever and only get your information directly from the trial itself. And I also believe that a jury should also have the right to pass through their committee and have questions to pose to the trial. Because typically what happens is the jury is only able to make their deliberation and say guilty or not guilty based off of information that was passed by the lawyers and judge and so forth. The jury does not actually have any say in the questioning. So how can they give an impartial answer if they're not able to actually pose questions themselves? If they can't give a deliberated yes or no based on the information provided to them, then they should be able to ask for more information. We do not have enough information at this time to either convict or not convict, or say guilty or not guilty. And then it falls back on the judge. And show me one judge that hasn't, well, and I'm sure there's some good judges out there, that hasn't made a corrupt decision. Or made a judgment that was influenced by their own personal opinion and not related to factual evidence inside the case. Doesn't happen. Fix the mental health of this world before you start casting more laws. Find out if baby needs his baba, or baby needs a diaper change, or find out the reason why people are committing the crimes. Why did they commit the crime? Just because someone committed a crime isn't good enough. Find out why they committed the crime. I don't condone the person who did the shooting in Virginia Beach at all, which means I don't think that they did anything good. They did all bad. This was terrible. Should have never done that. But find out why that person did that. Was it because they were being pressured by somebody at work? Were they being denied a promotion at work because of nepotism or something else? Meaning that somebody wanted their friend or family member to get a job even if they weren't qualified, so they could have the job. and they would actually take and deny somebody who was more than qualified and capable of doing the job. We're not going to let you have a job. I know that you're qualified. I know that you're the best person for this job, but my sister really needs a job. She doesn't meet any of the qualifications whatsoever, but she's my sister. That shit happens every frickin' day. And that could be a contributing factor of why somebody got pissed off enough to do that. If they kept getting pushed away from a promotion, if that person had been there for 15 years and they saw that somebody, more than one occasion where somebody was getting a job that they were applying for, and that other person that got the job was nowhere near qualified for it because they just happened to be friends or family of somebody who's high up in that company or government or whatever, nepotism is enough to cause some people to snap. I've seen where people have been forced to quit because they didn't fit in, or they weren't, there was something, they dress funny all the time, or I don't like that purple streak in your hair, or I don't like your nose piercing, or you don't hang out with the people from work, or you don't want to go to the bar and drink with the guys after work, or, what have you. And unfortunately, a lot of states have right to work. You have a right. It's not your right to be able to work for somebody. An employer has the right to fire you here in South Carolina for any reason whatsoever. They don't even have to give you a reason. I just don't want you to work here anymore, so you're fired. Thanks. Have a nice day. They can fire you for whatever reason they want. And my brother Joe wants this job, so I can't necessarily fire you for this reason or that reason. I'm just going to fire you. I don't need you anymore. So bye. I want my friend to have this job. Or, I can't get you to quit. So, I'm just going to make your life miserable every frickin' day. I'm going to pile extra work on you that other people don't get. I'm going to make your life miserable so you want to quit. There's people that do shit like that in the workplace, and they need to be the ones that get fired, not the person that they're trying to fire. Look at the cause of the evil before you start blaming the tools. Don't blame the guns. Don't blame a silencer or an automatic weapon or a pistol or a rifle or a magazine capacity. Don't blame inanimate objects. Blame the people involved in the process of why this happened. Fix the mental health issues first. Fix what's actually broken before you start penalizing me, a law-abiding citizen who wants to have suppressors because my hearing is as bad as it is. I've got partial hearing from one ear because of some asshole that driving a tractor trailer that decided he wanted to use his Jake brake on flat ground with open pipe exhaust because he didn't like the company that I drove for. So now I have permanent hearing loss because of this cocksucker. But, now I want a suppressor so that I can shoot at a range by myself or around other people without discomfort in my ears and don't have to wear big fat earmuffs. Because the way that I normally sit because of my eye dominance and sight and everything else, whenever I'm behind the scope on a rifle, most big earmuffs that would dampen the sound get in the way of the stock and cause me to have to shift into an unnatural position, which then caused me to have a crick in my neck and all the problems that could have been solved if I could just put a suppressor on the end of my rifle so that it could quiet down that crack when I first pull the trigger. It's not going to make the bullet sound go away. It's not going to make it more lethal. It's not going to make it go kill people. It's not going to do anything terrible whatsoever. In fact, it's going to make my life better. Now, if I'm that guy shooting an AR-15 at the range or whatever, their 30-06 hunting rifle or whatever, if I'm out there trying to shoot a 22, which is naturally quiet, but still, even a suppressor on 22 comes in handy so that it makes it even more quiet. So I can sit there and shoot for an extended period of time and have fun casually plinking without having to worry about inconveniencing people around me, then some guy shows up with a frickin' high-powered rifle, bam, with his deer rifle, and he's shooting 30-06, which is loud as hell, and now my ears are going to get blown out because now I've got to put on hearing protection because of Jethro over here with his hunting rifle. I'm not knocking hunting or Jethro's or 30-06. I'm just saying is out of convenience to the people shooting around me and around the shooter, it is a courteous thing to do is to use a suppressor. Say you decide you want to go hog hunting in an area that's having a problem with hogs. Then by using a sound suppressor, you're able to take a second or maybe even a third hog because the sound is not quite as loud, and you're able to get follow-up shots because you're using a semi-automatic weapon like an AR-15 and 300 Blackout with subsonic rounds. You're popping pigs and actually doing a good thing, doing pest control. You're sitting out on an open prairie in a field area where groundhogs are just decimating the ground. A farmer's cattle or horses are tripping in these holes and breaking their legs. So you're out there with your 25 caliber pre-charged pneumatic air rifle, and you want to put a sound suppressor on that so you can get a second or third or maybe even a fourth shot at these different prairie dogs, so that you're able to start working on eliminating the quantity of problem makers. Pest control. Yeah, I'm done. Stop the stupid. Fix the actual problem before you start casting stones at the wrong shit. Don't blame inanimate objects for the failure of the squishy shit between the ears. Find the problem, fix the problem, and it's not weapons, it's not tools. If you're going to go after guns, then you need to go after alcohol, you need to go after cars, you need to go after petroleum. How many people in this world have lost their lives because some idiot friggin' government insists that they want the oil from that country? When right now there's so many other ways of propelling vehicles around this continent, or moving people around this continent or this world, other than petroleum. But how many people have lost their lives because of oil? How many people have lost their lives because of religion? We're not going to go after churches and preachers because some tribe in some small country somewhere in the bush has killed another tribe because of their religion. You don't worship the same God as me, so I therefore need to kill you. Yeah. Don't blame the tools. Because before there were guns, there were swords, bows, crossbows, swords, rocks. People will kill if they want to kill. So you don't want to. You didn't find a ban on assault rocks. There's no ban on cars right now. There's no ban on alcohol right now. Go after the correct thing. I'm done with the shit. I just wish the rest of the world was done with this shit. Think straight. Shut down the nonsense that gets broadcast over news media, and let's try to fix the actual problems. The actual problems, not the wrong problems.